Speaker. I rise tonight to outline a very serious issue, the seemingly corrupt and anti-commercial conduct of the Civil Aviation Safety Authority office in Cairns, which appears to hide in the shadows and cite safety as a reason to advance personal vendettas against local aviation operators. Numerous operators in Cairns have been subjected to incompetence, threats and demands from individuals who make decisions outside CASA's authority. Barrier Aviation is the most recent victim, but I know there are at least 3 other operators who have been irreparably damaged by the Gestapo tactics of a few individuals, namely Phil Lister, Mark Avery and Gerard Campbell, and with the director of CASA himself turning a blind eye. The complaints include totally incorrect interpretation of regulations, requiring operators to jump through unnecessary hoops at the inspectors' commands, the inexperience of inspectors not knowing how to interpret regulations or legislation, inspectors entering aircraft unauthorised and unsupervised and interfering with master control switches, inspectors threatening regulatory action if operators do not do as they're told, even when the inspectors are wrong, and formal complaints being buried and never responded to. It is common knowledge within the aviation industry that if CASA wants you shut down, they simply bury you with regulation and wear you down with costs until you go broke. In Cairns, the personal vendetta against David Killen, an industry stalwart of almost 40 years, has led to the closure of his life's work. It started back in 2011 when a complaint was made by Barrier to the Industrial Complaints Commissioner. This complaint implicated a number of individuals within CASA Cairns who had displayed incompetent, unethical and irresponsible conduct towards Barrier. In a blatant conflict of interest, the main subject of the complaint, Mr Phil Lister, remained as an inspector of Barrier Aviation and associated companies and, incredibly, Madam Speaker, received a promotion. Despite requests, CASA office refused to assign Barrier to another CASA office. Meanwhile, the complaint was never responded to, and in retaliation, CASA spent almost 18 months setting Barrier Aviation up. This included a complaint that was lodged against Barrier by a disgruntled ex-employee who then fled back to his home country of New Zealand, resulting in the cancellation of Barrier's AOC. Barrier has serious concerns with CASA Cairns procedures, including the total lack of collaboration between CASA and the industry, unilateral decision-making, reversal of the onus of proof and the lack of procedural fairness and rights of appeal. At no time did CASA try to work with the operator to address their concerns. It was simply a witch hunt to seek vengeance on David Killen. CASA has lied about evidence, padded their investigation to make Barrier into an unsafe operator, despite Barrier previously excelling in this area. What is also unbelievable is abuse of process. 6 months after Barrier was forced to shut its doors, they still have not been able to test a single allegation in court, and at a cost of $28,000 a day in lost revenue. And to top it off, CASA has sent press release after press release with statements that have never been tested. Around 50 people have lost their jobs, Madam Speaker. Investors have lost millions of dollars, and David Killen has lost his life work. And even now, CASA is not content with just burying Barrier. They wanted to dance on his grave as well. I was disgusted to learn that CASA Cairns has been speaking to potential purchasers of Barrier aircraft, threatening that they will not approve their airworthiness. Since Barrier's very public demise, I've had numerous calls right across the country from people telling me that CASA Cairns has a history of destroying small businesses. And the most troubling thing is that while these callers have been keen to express a huge amount of sympathy for Barrier, they are too scared to speak out publicly. This industry urgently needs an independent rights and mechanism to hold CASA Cairns accountable for their own inadequacies in conduct. After September the 14th, I will be calling for a full inquiry, Madam Speaker. I won't let Barrier be destroyed without holding those individuals who are directly responsible for this sordid business accountable for their actions.
The question is the House do now adjourn. I call